Hi, it's Nicola here. Welcome to this first training session, free training session for the Money Mastery Fest. So this is a series of live sessions that I'm going to be running today and tomorrow to help you with all different aspects of money mindset, abundance mindset, how to get your head in the right place so that you can attract more money, more abundance into your life. So really hope you're going to enjoy them. This one, I am in this session, I can't get my words out. In this session, I'm going to be covering or giving you 5 simple ways to stay in the flow of abundance so that you can attract more to you. And this is a question that came up in my Facebook group, which is called Unbound Living with Nicola Humber, a couple of weeks ago, because I knew I wanted to do this these series of trainings and I wanted to cover your kind of burning questions about money. I asked people, you know, the members of the group, what were the top questions they have, and one of the members said, you know, how do you stay in the flow of abundance more consistently? Because when you're in the flow, that's when more good stuff can come to you. And very often we get out of that flow and then it becomes really difficult to kind of bring, attract money or any other of life, you know, any other of life's good stuffs to us. Like I said, tripping over my words today. But let's dive into the 5 simple ways. So these are things that you can use, like tools, or methods that you can use to get back into the flow of abundance. So really simple things that you can do today, and especially, you know, if you've maybe woken up in a bit of a funk, or, you know, you're having one of those days where you're not feeling very abundant and the universe is not feeling very abundant for you. These are 5 really simple ways to get back into the flow, get back into alignment with abundance. So let's dive in. The first one, and I just want to say, you know, you may well have heard some of these tips before, and that's because they're really effective. And the first one is one of them. And the first one is gratitude. Now, I'm sure that you've heard that an attitude of gratitude is kind of beneficial. And you've heard it because it is true, as I said. Having an attitude of gratitude is really, really important if you want to stay in that flow of abundance. And specifically, when we're talking about abundance, what I want to encourage you to do is just take a moment to appreciate all of the abundance that you have already attracted into your life, all of the abundance that you've already created in your life. So this is kind of a surefire way to get you back into that flow of abundance. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be in terms of money. You can just look at any other form of abundance that you have in your life. So kind of the home that you live in, your family, your friends, kind of the experiences that you've created for you in your life. Hi Melanie, so glad you could be here with me live. There are lots of different ways that abundance shows up, and sometimes we get focused kind of purely on money, and that can put us into a place of resistance. So I want you to open that up and look at all the ways that you're experiencing abundance in your life. But also, you know, do look at your financial situation and where you are right now, and look, you know, consciously look for all the financial abundance that you have in your life right now. And that can be simple things like, you know, obviously looking in your bank account, but, you know, looking in your wallet and any cash that you have. Hey, Lorraine. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I have a bowl with kind of lots of loose change that I have in. So, you know, really take some time to appreciate all of the abundance that you have in your life already. Because when you start to do that, you get back into that flow of abundance, and it's much easier to attract more to you. So that's the first tip, gratitude. And I know you've heard it before, but are you actually kind of consciously creating this energy of gratitude in your life? And if not, start right now. Right now, well, when you finish watching this. But you can be grateful for this. This is bringing abundance into your life. Okay, so tip 2 is to change your state. So this is specifically for you if you're not feeling in the flow of abundance right now. Maybe, like I said, you've woken up in a bit of a funk, or, you know, you're not feeling great, or you're going through a period where you're not feeling abundant. What I want to invite you to do is to change your state. And thank you, Lorraine, saying you're grateful for me. I really appreciate that. So what do I mean by change your state? What I mean is, if we're feeling in this place of kind of scarcity and fear, it's very easy to stay kind of stuck in one position. Maybe you're kind of in front of your laptop trying to do stuff that you feel will bring kind of more money, more abundance into your life. You're stuck at your desk, or you're kind of getting up every day and really being in this place of trying and pushing. And what I want to invite you to do is to change that. Just, even if it's just for a few minutes, to kind of get up, maybe go outside, go for a walk. That always works for me. That always shifts me out of a place of kind of stuckness and scarcity into a place of abundance. Something about being outside, being in nature, and that feeling of movement is really powerful. But you can move in other ways. Even just standing up, if you're feeling stuck, and you just notice what position you're in and just do something to free that up. Just stand up. You can just put your arms up in the air, you can just move around a bit. Just doing that for a couple of minutes will make a big difference. Or dance. I was just actually working with a client, and the message she was getting from her body was that she needed to dance. And that's something that's definitely been coming up for me recently. My body's been like, come on, Nicola, you need to dance. And you might feel a bit silly kind of dancing on your own, but honestly, go for it. Just put a song on and move your body to the music. And you might think, well, what difference is that going to make? But it really does. It changes your state. It shifts you out of a place of kind of fear and scarcity and stuckness. It just frees everything up. So change your state. Okay, so that's tip number 2. Thank you for the thumbs up. Really appreciate that. The third tip that I want to give you to stay in the flow of abundance more consistently is to build your receiving muscle. What do I mean by that? Well, many of us have become closed off to receiving in different ways. Oh, thank you for the heart. I'm allowing myself to receive that heart that just came up. And this is what I'm talking about. Many of us, particularly women, and I work with a lot of women in my business, helping them to perfect their money mindset and their energy around money and abundance. But many of us have become closed off to receiving. So we'll deflect kind of all kinds of abundance. And what I'm talking about, it can be things as simple as like compliments. If someone compliments you, do you kind of brush it off with like, oh, that was nothing? Or, if someone says, oh, I love that top you're wearing. Is it like, oh, well, yeah, it's just some old thing that I threw on this morning. Do you find yourself deflecting compliments or positive feedback that you're receiving from people as you're going throughout your life? Do you find yourself deflecting offers of help? If someone's offering to help and support you, do you find yourself going, oh no, it's fine, I can do it myself? So that's the kind of more subtle ways that we can be closed off to receiving. The thing is, the universe is always trying to send you what you want. It's always trying to send you the abundance that you want to create in your life. But very often we kind of subtly push it away in lots of different ways. And, things like deflecting compliments or positive feedback or offers of help. Or, if someone kind of invites you to a particular event, or if someone invites you to connect with them, and, if you're constantly saying, no thanks, I don't want to do that, and you're really keeping your eyes focused on how you imagine that abundance, you're going to create abundance in your life, you're not open to any other possibilities, then you are being then you're closed off to receive. Does that make sense? And it can be things like, say you go out for coffee with a friend and they offer to pay and you're like, no, it's fine, and you want to pay your share. Okay, yeah, you don't want to be the person who never pays for anything, but allow yourself to receive the abundance that the universe is already sending to you. And I think, like I say, particularly as women, this can be something that we do. We're very very closed off to receiving kind of support and help. So just notice, maybe notice for the next 24 hours, just set your intention to be more open to receive in lots of different ways. And when you do that, you open up to the flow of abundance. So that's tip number 3, is to build your receiving muscle. Tip number 4, just looking down on my notes that I've got here to make sure I cover everything. Tip number 4 is to declutter. And again, you may well have heard this one before because it is so powerful. And when I'm talking about decluttering, there's a really bright light coming in. It's a gorgeous day outside today. When I'm talking about decluttering, I am talking about both physical decluttering and kind of emotional and mental decluttering. So let me talk about the physical first. In terms of physical decluttering, why it's important is when we clear away kind of the old stuff that we've accumulated, stuff that we no longer need or want, we make space for the new abundance to come to us. Okay, so creating a vacuum is really powerful. When you create a vacuum, the universe will can't help but fill it. Okay, so you want to be regularly doing this kind of physical decluttering kind of your home, decluttering your office, making sure that you're operating in a really clear space, making space for new good stuff to flow to you. But also in terms of, and actually, this is something that can change your state as well, going back to tip 2. If rather than staying in that kind of stuck, like, oh, woe is me, everything's rubbish and I haven't got enough in my life, rather than being in that place, if you just get up and say, right, I'm just going to do like 10 minutes decluttering and clearing, that will change your state and put you back in a position of power. So, it's very helpful in that way as well. But alongside any physical decluttering, what I also encourage you to do is this kind of mental, emotional kind of decluttering. And I was just thinking another form of decluttering. Sorry, I'm distracting myself. So what I mean by that is like regularly kind of looking or being aware of any emotions that are coming up for you, particularly around abundance and your ability to create abundance in your life. And what I recommend is using a tool like EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique. I'm going to be sharing more about this in one of the live streams, Money Mastery Fest live streams tomorrow. But you can go and look at my YouTube channel, Oh, no, it's not nicolahumber.com. That's my website, not my YouTube channel. But if you just go onto YouTube and search for Nicola Humber, then there's lots of tapping videos on there, which will just help you to acknowledge and release any emotions that are coming up. So that's a very kind of powerful form, a different way of decluttering. And also this kind of mental, psychological decluttering. And I'm going to be talking more about that very shortly when we move on to tip number 5, but it's about letting go of any kind of unhelpful beliefs or stories you've been telling yourself about your ability to create abundance in your life. Because when you let go of those old stories, again, it's clearing space, putting you in a more powerful position to be able to attract and create more abundance in your life. It's keeping you in that flow. So decluttering is a continual process. It's not something that we do as a one-off and it's like, oh, that's done. I'm always decluttering in lots of different ways. And like I said, it puts you back in that position of power. It's a very, very beneficial thing to do. So that's tip number 4. Decluttering. Tip number 5, the final tip I'm going to be sharing with you this morning, and then I've got something very special that I want to let you know about. Tip number 5 is to change your story. So this is probably one of the most powerful things that you can do to keep yourself in the flow of abundance. So what I would suggest is if you find yourself keep getting knocked out of that flow of abundance, and if you keep finding yourself in a place of scarcity and fear, it's related to the stories you're telling yourself, okay? And you may not even be aware of these stories, but just kind of check in with yourself in these moments when you're feeling a bit knocked out of the flow of abundance. It's like, well, what am I telling myself now? Am I telling myself things like, there's never enough, or, I can't do this, or it's too hard for me to make money, or money's not for people like me? Is that the kind of thing that I'm telling myself? And just really be honest with yourself about, you know, what's going on up here. What's the story you're telling yourself? There's no judgment. You know, when you recognize these stories that you've been telling yourself, it puts you, like I said, again, in a really powerful position so you can begin to change your story. And changing your story is one of the most powerful things you can do in order to kind of create and attract more abundance into your life. So as an example of this, a specific example, say, you know, sometimes I will get kind of a client who's booked in with me and they end up cancelling. Now, in the past, I might have told myself, oh my goodness, and this is something, you know, that for any of us who work with clients, we may have experienced this. Someone cancels and you go into this place of like, oh, well, you know, that's awful. I'm not going to be making the money that I thought I was going to be making. And why is this client cancelled? And you can tell yourself all sorts of stories about it that put you in a place of fear and scarcity. Or, and this is what I do now, if someone does cancel their appointment or their session with me, what I will tell myself is like, oh, that's great. It's a form of decluttering. The universe is clearing space for an even more ideal client to come to me. So you might think, oh my goodness, that's a bit kind of Pollyanna-ish, Nicola. And yeah, it is. It's great to be Pollyanna because Pollyanna experienced lots of abundance in her life. She was aware of lots of abundance in her life. And it's about telling yourself the most abundant, the most empowering story. If I tell myself, oh my goodness, this is awful. Why has this happened to me? Oh, this kind of thing always happens to me. Then I'm really putting myself in the place of being a victim and not being in control of my life and my ability to create abundance. Whereas if you tell yourself, oh, this is great, you know, this is just clearing space for even more abundance to come to me. This is clearing space for an amazing opportunity to come to me. I am a powerful kind of creator in my life. I am a conscious creator of my life. If you tell yourself things like that, if you are kind of telling yourself stories like that, then that will get you right back into that flow of abundance very quickly. Okay, so like I said, it might not feel particularly natural for you to do that at first because you've been used to telling yourselves these old kind of fear-based stories for a long time, and we're kind of encouraged to tell ourselves those kind of really unhelpful, limiting stories. But, you know, just be aware of what's going on in your mind and consciously choose to change it into a more abundant, powerful story for yourself. And the more you do that, the more it will feel natural. So that's my 5 tips for you today to move you back into the flow of abundance. 1 is gratitude. 2 is change your state. 3 is build your receiving muscle. 4, I can't do my fingers. 4 is declutter, and 5 is change your story. So those are all tips from a chapter in my new book, which is called Money Mastery, a guide to creating financial flow and being your most abundant self. And that is available right now on Kindle to download for just 99p for the first 48 hours. And like I said, those 5 tips are all from one of the chapters in that book, which are my top 10 abundance hacks. So there are another kind of 5 tips in that chapter that you can have a look at. So, you know, if kind of creating abundance and making more money is something that you would like to do, then I encourage you to hop over to Amazon and download that book, Money Mastery, by me, Nicola Humber, for 99p, and it's available for 99p for the first 48 hours. So all day today and tomorrow is available for 99p. So go grab your copy. Just going to look at this comment that Lorraine has made. I think that now I've had over 20 years of working one-to-one with people, I now know that most often people cancel because of their reasons, not because of you. I have 24-hour cancellation policies in place with my hourly face-to-face work. And online, if someone decides not to work with me, then like you, and it's not saying, I can't see the rest of that comment, but I think, Lorraine, yeah, you're kind of backing up what I said. And that's just like a specific example of, yeah, and through experience, you might kind of learn to tell yourself a more empowering story. But, you know, you really want to look at the stories you're telling yourself and kind of shift them to something more abundant. But it can also prompt you to take kind of really empowering, abundant action as well. You know, things like having a 24-hour cancellation policy in place, you know, really putting yourself in that powerful position. And Melanie, you're saying, thanks that you've just got it, my book, Money Mastery. Fantastic. Oh, thanks, Melanie. I hope you enjoy it. I am going to be back at 3 p.m. UK time today with the next live training session in the Money Mastery Fest. So I will see you then. And Lorraine, you're saying, yes, I was saying never take it personally. It's their excuse. It's not because you're... Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But I think when you first start in you know, whatever kind of work you're doing, we can take stuff personally, and that's not a very abundant place to be when we always think, oh my goodness, you know, this person is doing this because of me. It's not a very empowering kind of position to be in. So absolutely, taking things personally is not a very abundant inflow position to take. So thanks for that. If you are watching the recording of this and you have any questions or comments on what I've shared today, please do comment below the video and I will come back and answer them and respond to you. And I will see you a bit later at 3 p.m. UK time for the next session in Money Mastery Fest. See you then.